Thank you for joining the Fantasy Football Clown Show. I'm your host, Ed Smith. Today, we're going to take a look at a 10-team dynasty that really began back in 2019 with 9 other people that I actually know. So this was a friends and family league. And so a shout out to my son, Brad, a shout out to my nephew, Andrew, who were parts of some of the rest of the teams that I'll preview later in these segments. And so they are owners in this league, as well as the other 7 people that I do know as well. So this league started with scoring that was maybe predated some of the other scoring that I really embarked on later before the 2020 season. And so as I look back, I see no real strategy was employed here. This was definitely a balanced team, and it's just kind of evolved from that point. Was a playoff team in each of the years so far, so it's something that is a playoff team. And one of the nuances in scoring is it is full point PPR with the quarterback getting 4 points for a passing touchdown. One other just side note, this still has defenses, and at different times the defenses have been hoarded, if you will, by other owners where they have a bunch. I did just check the waiver wire, and there's 4 available. So out of the 10 teams, there is still 4 available, but there are teams that have 5 or 6 defenses on their team. However, since there are some on the waiver wire, I've elected to only have the Seattle defense as my only defense that I'm rostering currently. So as we take a look at the starters that we have, just wanted to highlight what we start. And so we start a quarterback, 1 super flex, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, 1 tight end, and then 1 general flex. And how I look at this team, again, is a very balanced approach. The quarterback room, I wanted to have quality there at the top of the room, and with Burrow and Lamar, it seems like those first 2 are fairly decent if we compare top 10 options. And then with Deshaun Watson and Mayfield rounding out the 4 that I just need 2 of each and every week with injuries and buys. And then with some luck, maybe you could say, I have Mond and Locke that can, may become something, but maybe not, so that's what we have there in the quarterback room. I did go a little heavier on running backs because it's such a shallow league that I wanted to make sure that there is enough running backs. And so typically start 2 running backs plus a running back in the flex, and then have coverage for injuries and buys. And so here, 3 running backs that I would start normally would be Monty, Jacobs, and Akers, with Elliott and Fournette that I can utilize in those 3 spots as needed, as buys, as injuries happen, that they're there. And then some more project-based running backs is Keyshawn Vaughn, Dallas, Royce Freeman, Foreman, Sermon, and Darrell with 1L Williams rounds out the squad and fills up the bench spots with some running backs that can add a spot start here or there, or really playing against the opponents and making sure that they maybe don't have those running backs at their disposal. As we look at the wide receiver room, need to have 3, and most times we'll start Mike Williams, Debo, Mooney, Sutton, Renfro, Allen Robinson, Boyd, with Quez Watkins, Hardman, Cephas, Mims, and Swain being extra people that can float in or out as needed. And so I use that as a chance to take project receivers that I think have high upside and can fill the roster spots and try to fill them up. But the end of those wide receivers, I'll definitely look to upgrade on based on rookie picks and that sort of thing. And then at the tight end position, have Pitts at the top of the class with Troutman, Harrison Bryant, Long, and Gray behind to fill 1 spot, and just kind of go with Pitts until his bye week or an injury, and then figure it out from there. But I'll have some young guys that maybe will take that next step and could become a flex worthy person or a trade option for me to maybe boost the quarterback room, which I think, you can never have enough quarterbacks, enough running backs in a league like this. When I looked at Fantasy Pros, they actually have have this team ranked second out of all 10 teams, so it is a high end team. It didn't finish in second last year, so I guess I'll take the second that they offer this time. And the best waiver move of the year was my pickup of Hunter Renfrow. So as we know, he had a better than normal season, so that was awesome to have that. Some notable players I traded away over the 2.5 year period that the league has been in existence has been Calvin Ridley, Derek Carr, Nico Collins, Chris Carson, Singletary, Trask, Mike White, Jimmy Graham, Lazard. I actually traded away the 105 in this upcoming draft. And when this will get to one of my peeves, if I'm going to trade away a first round pick, I really feel like I should win. And if I don't win, then I should win money. And neither of those happened. So I feel like that was a bad dart throw. We're going to revisit, though, what my thoughts are on the draft when we go through what I have in draft picks here on this team. As we look at the players I received for those players, though, that we turned away, I think this list is pretty long and pretty good. And so maybe a little bit even top heavy of what I received back. And that's Mike Williams, Josh Jacobs, Akers, Zeke, Fournette, Boyd, Mooney, Allen Robinson, Mond, Watkins, a second and third, and a second, third, and fourth, and a second and fifth. So, a lot of additional picks coming my way in future years. So I feel like it was worth getting those star-studded players that really help build the depth that there is. When I look at 10 teams, and I wanted to revisit what I do with this. So I make a list each year, and you guys will see this coming into fruition of my top 30 rookies. And then top 40 if it's an IDP league. And I just kind of sprinkle the IDPs into that top 30 to make a total of 40. And as I look at that top 30 list, I mean, that can vary if it's a 10-team league, a 12-team league, a 14-team league, or a 16-team league. I don't even get through 2 rounds, obviously, with 32 picks. And so as I make that top 30 list, I really look at how many picks am I going to have in the 30. And so with a 10-team league, that basically gets us to the end of round 3. So I feel like if I trade away a first-round pick and I get a second back, it might not be too far off what I'm used to getting player-wise, because at the 2-1 and 2-2 spot is like what I'm used to getting a first-round player. And sometimes in this kind of a league with maybe more casual players, people that aren't playing in so many leagues, actually value does fall to me a little bit. So I guess I get a little less concerned about throwing the dart. And the first round pick was part of a Zeke Elliott trade to kind of take care of a bye week with Akers hurt and some of the other things going on. I think Jacobs was hurt at the time, and maybe even Monty. So I was really struggling for running backs, and with Elliott and Fournette, it gave me 2. So it felt like the right thing to do to get to the playoffs. But without winning, then it feels like it was just throwing away picks. So in this upcoming draft, though, what happens, or where I'm picking, is I'm going to pick at the 204, pick number 14, pick number 15, 24, 25, 33, 35, 40, 45, and then the last pick in the draft, which is Mr. Irrelevant, of 50. And as I look at what is there, some of those tail end picks I may never use. They might be players, so like in last year's draft that I picked, like Kenny Yeboah, that never made the team. It might be players like Daz Newsome, or Dez Fitzpatrick, that never made the teams and then maybe made a practice squad later on. And so those players will get dropped. And then otherwise, some of the top end players, the seconds, thirds, I'll probably play darts on players like maybe Kellen Mond or Davis Mills that could become starting player caliber quarterbacks, or we might get something like St. Brown that was a really good player out of the second round, or players like Sermon or Michael Carter were second round picks in this league as well last year. So a lot of options as far as second round picks go. I think actually this was the only league that I had that Mac Jones was a second round pick as well. So something to kind of consider there as I look to build the squad this upcoming year. And so with those picks, while I don't have any in the top 10, and I only have 2 in the top 15, I do feel like with 4 in the top 25 picks, there is going to be some room to get some players that maybe can make a difference. However, having said that, I feel like the team is pretty well situated to make a run for a dynasty championship once injuries happen and some of the other things occur next year. So not looking to make any real big trades in this squad in the upcoming year. Just kind of let it ride out and put guys on the IR that get injured, and just put in the depth in the spots that it can. If I were to get offered maybe a 2-for-1 where I give 2 players for 1 player, I think I would look to do that here. However, in a 10-team league, I think all 9 other owners probably are looking to do a 2-for-1. So it seems like in most cases, we're all looking for the same thing. So those trades seem to have, gone by the wayside. One thing I will do want to point out, just an observation from the draft and how things just changed so much. I picked running backs at the 3-4 turn. I was at the very end of the draft, and so I picked at the 3-10 4-1 spot. And back then, when we would draft these teams, I picked Marlon Mack and Devin Singletary. Now, Singletary looked awful here up until the end of the season, so it was one of the only shares of Singletary I had, just based on when I drafted him, and that was before Moss even was drafted. So it gives you an idea of when I was picking Singletary there. And obviously Jonathan Taylor wasn't a blip on the radar for the Colts at the time when I drafted Marlon Mack. But then later in that same draft, at the 15 round turn, so 14, 10, 15, I took Mikael Hardman and Debo Samuel with that in those picks. So kind of funny how the world has changed. And if you can get Debo with your 1501 pick, that's kind of crazy, actually, as a matter of fact. So just thought that was a kind of a point of excitement for me as I look back and saw, hey, that was a pretty good pick, that Debo at the 1501 pick. So, and then, with every great pick, you say there's a terrible pick, and that would be Marlon Mack with the 310. I thought that was just ludicrous. And so I was like, what was I thinking? And so anyway, I'm sure you guys will feel the same way. Want to encourage everybody to hit that subscribe button. That really helps me. Or post in the comments what you think about this team. Is this going to win a championship, or is it destined for last place? Let me know what you think, and thanks for joining me.